Euro 2024 fantasy football is well underway now, and here is my first draft. Alright, so before I actually get into the team itself, there's a few things that I wanted to cover before I actually show you the players. And I'm hoping these things that I'm going to show you not only sort of justify the reasons that I'm picking these players, but also help you when it comes to picking your team. So first of all, I'm just going to talk about some basic selection criteria for the players that I want in my team. And I've kind of got 4 main points that I want to stick by when picking my players. So first of all, I want players that are nailed on to start, right? You can't be picking players in fantasy football that aren't certainties to play. So number 1 rule, players have to be nailed on to start. Secondly, I really like owning penalty takers, not just in international fantasy football games, in all fantasy football formats, right? Because it just means, regardless of how your specific player is playing in that game or their specific team, all they need to do is win a foul in the penalty box and they've got a chance of scoring a goal. There's around 1 in 3 games in international football. I've taken the World Cup 2022 there as an example. Around 1 in 3 games in international football, there's a penalty. So there's 3 games in the group stages, for example. So, you know, it's a bit of extrapolation to get there. 3 games in the group stages suggests that most teams during the groups will have at least 1 penalty. So I really like the strength of penalty takers. Thirdly, set pieces and just general set piece threat, right? 40% of all international goals on average come from set plays. So making sure you pick players you think are a threat and can get on the end of free kicks and corners that go in, and also the takers themselves. I think those 2 things can be really important when it comes to picking your teams. And finally, you got to pick players with good fixtures, right? Pick players from good teams with good groups. Bearing in mind we have unlimited transfers before the round of 16 and a couple of chips we can use. If you potentially want to use a chip during the group stages, you realistically only have to pick a team for 2 fixtures. So bear that in mind when picking your team. Okay then, just a little bit more to talk about just in terms of teams to target. I just wanted to look at the way that the groups are arranged. So Group A, I think Germany being the home team of the tournament, they've really picked up form internationally in their recent friendlies. Of course, they've got 2 teams in the Champions League final. And of course, Bayern Leverkusen have gone undefeated all season. So they're really strong, I think, Germany. And they've got a good group. I'd expect them to beat all 3 of the teams that they have in their group. So I really like Germany as a team to pick from. Group C, I think England are definitely the strongest group there. Previously in international tournaments, they've been really good defensively, barely conceding a single goal during the group stages, and their defensive assets in previous international tournaments have obviously been really good value. But I'm just a little bit cautious around England defence this time round. I think with the strength of players they have in midfield and going forwards, Gareth Southgate is likely going to start them in a back 4 compared to, say, the World Cup and the previous Euro tournament where he's played a back 3, which has been really good for them defensively. I think he's going to have to change that up. And I also worry about, if one of the England centre-backs get injured, there's very little kind of on the bench in terms of real good international solid experience. I'm thinking, Stones and Maguire will be the first starting 2, right? They've not had great injury records this season. And Luke Shaw at left-back, there's a real hole at left-back at the moment for England. Luke Shaw's been picked in the preliminary squad. How fit he's actually going to be for the start of the tournament, we don't know. So I do like England, just a little bit hesitant about their defence, I would say. France in Group D, I think, are nice and strong. Likewise, I'd say Holland, they don't necessarily have the best group. Obviously, they've got France in their group. I think they're a really strong team, and I wouldn't mind picking players from their team. But definitely France are strong from Group D. I think Belgium have got a strong group in Group E as well. They've had mixed time of it, I would say, in international tournaments previously. But when you look at that group, you've got to think the level of competition they have in that group is relatively low. And then Portugal, my God, they've got a really strong squad this tournament and a really decent group as well. So those teams are the kinds of ones I'd want to target. And finally, I think it's really important just to have a think about how you're going to use the chips that are available to you in the game. Of course, you can't use a chip going into match day 1. And you get unlimited transfers for the round of 16. So those are the only 2 times you can't use the chips. For me, I've got an idea that I want to use the limitless chip in match day 3, which means I only have to pick a team for 2 match days, and I think that some teams may have won their group basically by match day 3, and if they have, I expect there to be some rotation, you know, the likes of England, France, Germany, Portugal, the teams we've talked about maybe picking players from. There's a chance that they get through at that stage already and they're going to rotate, and I think it's useful to have the limitless chip when you get to that point. In terms of the wild card, now, of course, these don't have to be answers for what you do for your team, but I think the wild card, it makes sense to use it sometime during the knockout stages, and I can't say for sure when I'm going to do that. Ultimately, it depends how many players I pick in the round of 16 team actually progress through the tournament. That's kind of going to need a bit of luck, right? And depending on, you know, how many get knocked out will depend on when I play the wild card. But for me, I'm going to use the important thing when picking this team is looking at the group stages right now. And I'm going to use the limitless chip, I think, in match day 3. Now, one thing I'm going to say before I actually talk through the squad. We're on the 21st of May at the moment. Not all the teams have been announced. We haven't even had like a warm-up friendly or anything yet. So this team is definitely not my nailed-on starting 11 going into the tournament. And there are going to be some players on the periphery that I'm going to mention as well that haven't quite made it into this first draft, but I do think are really decent picks. So I'm going to start off then with the goalkeepers and defenders. I've gone for Verbruggen of Holland. I think he's probably nailed on to start for them. It's a tie-up, I think, between him and Flecken, but I would say I think Verbruggen is first choice. And then I've got Lunin, who has Romania and Slovakia as his first couple of fixtures. I think these two, both at 4.5 million, make for a nice double up in goal. And I just have a feeling this will be where most people lie come the start of the tournament. Bearing in mind, of course, Verbruggen, we'll see if he's nailed on for Holland through the friendlies. Castagna, Mittelstadt. I don't actually know how to pronounce all the German names, forgive me. Di Lorenzo, Martsen and Dalot are my back 5. Castagna seems to have nailed down that right back spot for Belgium. He's really attacking, can play either as right back or right wing back, depending on the formation that Belgium set up in. I think we can remember from his Leicester days, he's got a really good chance of scoring goals. He's good in the air, good from set pieces, etc. I think he could do really well. And remembering back to the groups, I think Belgium have a really strong group and he's got a good chance of keeping some clean sheets as well as getting some attacking returns. Now, Mittelstadt, I think he is first choice Germany left back. I've got to thank FF Bobby for that. In fact, I will link a fantastic Twitter account for you to follow, FF Bobby. He's made a thread basically talking through the best picks, value picks, etc. from each international team in the Euros. And he specifically pointed out Mittelstadt as a guy that could potentially be starting at left back for Germany. Only Raum is the other left back that has potentially could play left back. Mittelstadt, he's only 4 million. So you've got 4 million for a defender for Germany, the home team, saying good form, right? Good chance of keeping clean sheets. I really like him as an option. I've gone for Di Lorenzo, just favouring the fixture against Albania. I also don't mind Lucas Hernandez of France as well. Oh, sorry, Theo Hernandez of France as well. I think he could be a really good option. Nailed down that left back spot for France. I've just gone for Di Lorenzo to start, but Hernandez is my player on the periphery. Matson, I think he's nailed down the left back spot for Holland. He is extremely attacking, as we've seen for Dortmund. Made it to the Champions League final, so we know the quality of player that he is. I think he just offers a lot of attacking threat for a decent price. And then I've gone for Dalot. I think Portugal are going to be really strong. Have a feeling Cancelo plays left back for Portugal. You know, that sort of inverted fullback role. And we see Dalot as the starting right back. I think Dalot's performed really well for Man United. And I think we've got good signs that he's going to start for Portugal. Like I said, I think Hernandez is on the periphery. He could come in potentially to replace Di Lorenzo or Dalot, if so be. Onto the midfield then. Florian Wirtz first up. He's obviously, that's quite hard to say. He's obviously been in fantastic form for Leverkusen this season. Genuinely one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. I think he's proven that this season. I do like him as an option. I think he's going to be pretty nailed on to start for Germany. The one thing, remembering back to the sort of selection criteria I spoke about at the start, he doesn't look to be on penalties or free kicks. Gundogan is the first choice, I believe, penalty taker for Germany. So I must say, I've gone for Wirtz first off because I think from open play, he's definitely better than Gundogan. Gundogan is a bit cheaper and he is on penalties. So I think that sort of Germany midfield spot for me is a toss-up between Gundogan and Wirtz. Right now, I've gone for Wirtz. And given that he plays first, he's on the first match day, the first game of the first match day, he's my captain currently. Obviously, as we know, that can move to a different captain later on in the match day. Gone for Siemens, Xavi, I think it's Xavi Siemens of Holland. I really like him as an option. He's a decent price. Seems to be nailed on playing right wing for them. Yeah, I really like him as an option. He's a promising talent, and I think this could be... I just have a feeling that this could be a good tournament for him. Xhaka, he's on all the set pieces for Switzerland, bar penalties. Shaqiri is the famous sort of... He's been really good, Shaqiri, to be fair, in recent fantasy football tournaments for Switzerland. I just have a feeling that he's just a bit too old now. No offence, Shaqiri, but I don't think he's going to be playing that many minutes. Whereas Xhaka, given the season he's had, I think he's going to be nailed on to start for Switzerland. Given the bonus point system for ball recoveries, I think he could score well in that domain. He takes all the set pieces. I just have a feeling he's got a few like absolute thunder blasts from midfield to score as well. I think he's got a good chance of scoring from open players, basically what I'm trying to say. Bruno Fernandes, we'll see. I think I do like him as an option, but Ronaldo worries me. I think Ronaldo is obviously going to take away his free kicks and penalties. Although I just don't think Ronaldo is going to play all the minutes of the group stages. I do see him being subbed for Gonzalo Ramos, whereas Bruno Fernandes, he's a 90-minute every game kind of man. So you've got no doubt about him starting. He's obviously really good, really creative from open play, obviously really dangerous from open play as well. He can score goals. And then when Ronaldo's not on the pitch, I think he's got free reign of free kicks and penalties. And he probably takes the corners even when Ronaldo's on the pitch as well, right? So I really like him as an option. And we all know how good that Portugal group is. He's got some really favourable fixtures. And I think he could have a really good tournament. And finally, the final midfielder, Çalhanoğlu, I'm pretty sure, is it Çalhanoğlu of Turkey? Turkey don't have, you know, the best group in the world. But Çalhanoğlu is one of the best free kick takers I've ever seen. He's going to be on every single set piece that Turkey get. I just think he's a little bit of a differential outside threat, you know. You have to search some of his free kicks that he scored, right, in his career. He's absolutely unbelievable. I think he played for Schalke, was it? Or it was a German team. Correct me if I'm wrong. He scored a free kick against Dortmund from his own half. And it's one of the most incredible goals that I've ever seen. And he is one of the best free kick takers in the world. You might not have heard of him. I don't know. But I really like him. And like I said, 40% of all goals from international football come from set pieces. So picking those guys that take the sort of cross free kicks, corners, etc., where teams can score from is a really good idea in my mind. And Çalhanoğlu and Xhaka. God, pronouncing all these names is impossible. You get what I'm saying. I think the set piece takers are really strong in this game, and I've tried to fill my team as many as possible. All right, and finally, my front three. I've gone big. I've gone Lukaku, Kane, and Mbappe. I don't think these guys need all that much explanation, to be honest. Lukaku, likely on penalties for Belgium, and every time I see him play internationally, he is an absolute handful. And he seems, I don't know what it is, maybe it's the speed of play, the way teams set up, etc. He seems to play so much better for Belgium than he does for his own club. Belgium obviously have a really good group, like we said. I think he's going to have a really good tournament. Harry Kane, top scorer in England history, probably the best centre-forward in world football right now. England, strongest team in their group. I mean, what more can you want? I think Harry Kane is a fantastic option. You know, he's on... Probably not on free kicks, actually, but he's definitely their penalty taker. I mean, yeah, don't need to sell him anymore. And then Mbappe, hat-trick in World Cup finals, penalty taker for France, absolute talisman. Probably the best player on the planet right now. Correct me in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Like I said, I don't think these three need too much explanation. They're probably the three best forwards you can go for. I could have picked Kai Havertz. I think he'll do well for Germany. Probably first choice centre-forward for them. I just prefer Lukaku because I think he has a better record internationally and he's on penalties. I really like the thought of picking players, like I said, on set pieces and penalties. I haven't put any details about budget used, but this team uses the full budget. I've got nothing left in the bank with this team. As the first draft goes, I think it's pretty good. Let me know in the comments, though, what you think. All right, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that. My first stab at putting together a proper, well thought out draft ahead of Euro 2024 and the fantasy game, of course. I credited a few things in that video, mainly FF Bobby. He's a good friend of mine on Twitter, and some of the information, he's got a YouTube channel as well. Feel free to check that out. I'll link both his Twitter and YouTube in the description. He's put out some absolutely fantastic content out already ahead of the Euros. There's also another account, FPL Motley Barnets, who's done some really good Euros analysis as well. I'll link all that in the description so you can check it out for yourself. I'll admit quite a lot of the selections I've made are based off of their information. So yeah, just thank you so much, guys, for putting that information out there. Yeah, check them out yourselves. I will be making videos all the way up until the Euro starts and throughout. So if you enjoyed this one and want to see more content from me, please subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just here on your screen. I think that's about it. Please leave me a like rating if you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if there's any changes you'd make to this team. Like I said, it's probably not my final choice. And ultimately, you know, I don't think we know enough information yet to be absolutely nailing on a team right now. So I'm sure there's going to be people that disagree with me. Leave a like rating if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. It should be just there. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching.